Before we start using PHP to develop our website, I'm going to quickly show you how to use the PHP command line interface, or CLI. Some of you may have never used a CLI before, so I thought it'd be worth going through. Most of the programs we use every day have a graphical interface, which usually just requires us to press some buttons or enter some text or select from menus. A command line interface is an alternative method of interacting with a program. Instead of pressing buttons, we need to write specific commands which will be sent to the executable file and executed. Typically, when we want to view all of the possible commands of an executable file, we can just write the file's name and -h. This is -h for help. When we do that with PHP, we can see quite a big list of potential options. Now, we don't have to understand how any of these work, but I just want to show you in general. In particular, what we'll do is we will use the -r command because it says it'll run PHP code. So let's try it out. PHP-r. Now, -r must stand for run, and after the R, we have to provide it with some kind of code to run. We'll write the code inside of quotations. I'm going to tell it to echo, which means send me a message, or return 1 + 1. Press enter and see what happens. You can see that it returned the number 2. So that's good, that makes sense. Another thing we could have done is we could have used the -a command to run it as an interactive shell. That basically means that we can call the PHP executable, it'll open up a shell, which is a place where we can send lots of commands directly to the php.exe file. So here I can write the same command, echo 1 + 1, and it'll tell me the response. I could write echo hello, and it'll tell me hello. If we ever want to exit a shell, we just have to hold Control C, and it'll basically cancel that session and send us back into command prompt. Alright, so that's just a rough idea of how we would use this shell. Another thing we can do is get PHP to execute all of the PHP code within a particular file. To do that, we're first going to have to make a PHP file. So let's open up Notepad++ again, and we will create a PHP file. I'll have to put in this special PHP tag. I'll explain that in a second. And let's save it into the same website folder as we saved our website earlier. This time I'm going to call it index.php. The reason I put .php is because this is going to be a file that contains PHP code. Alright, so inside of a PHP file, this PHP tag tells PHP where to find the PHP code. Anything we write outside of this tag, PHP is going to ignore. It's just going to treat it as plain text. It's not going to try to compile it. It's not going to try to execute it. It's only going to execute and compile the code that's written within the PHP tags. So for example, if I wrote echo 1 + 1 here, it should execute only this line of code. Let's see what happens. What we need to do is we need to use a different CLI command. In this case, we're going to do -f, pass and execute the file, and we're going to call the index.php file. But we have one problem, and that's that our command prompt is currently located in the C users Daniel folder, and our index.php file is located in the desktop website folder. So we need to move. And the way that we can move folders or change directories is using the cd command. So to change the desktop, I just do cd desktop. Now I'm in the desktop folder. To change to the website folder, cd website. If we want to make sure we're in the correct folder, we can write the dir command or directory command, and that'll list all of the files currently in the website folder. You can see we got the index.html and we got the index.php. Alright, so we're in the right spot. We can use the PHP executable to run the code. So we could do PHP -f, and we just have to write the file name. Hopefully what will happen is we'll see that this code is executed, and we see the result. It worked too. Let's have a look at what happens if we were to write this code outside of the PHP tags. Okay, we got to make sure we save it every time. And let's run the code again. It just wrote echo 1 plus 1. So it didn't compile or execute the code. It literally just spat out what we wrote. It just treated it as text and returned it to us. Now you can see there's also a space above the echo, and that's because there's a space between the PHP tag and the echo. Well, now it's gone. So you have to be very careful with how you use these PHP files. The code should go inside of the PHP tags. The reason why I wanted to show you how to use PHP from the command line is because it can be very useful if you have quite a complicated project and you just want to test 1 or 2 lines of code. You just create a PHP file, enter in the lines of code you want to test, and then just run it. It's really useful. Another thing that I want to mention is that since this is a PHP file, if we were to try to open this file in Google Chrome, something funny is going to happen. You can see that there's no HTML here. There's no funny styling, there's nothing. It treated all of the code written in PHP just as plain text. It didn't try to render it, it didn't have a special PHP tag with a certain styling. It just treated it as plain text. And that's because everything inside of the PHP tag is supposed to be executed by PHP. Google Chrome only expects us to send it HTML code. And the idea with servers are that the server will run the PHP code and the PHP code will prepare some HTML code to send to Google Chrome. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video.